Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. And delighted to be able to talk to you tonight about, that song, by the way. That song's done in honor of our president's great victory a year ago of single-handedly taking out Osama bin Laden. You know what? If you listen to the media, you kind of get that impression he's some kind of superhero. The commercials that he's promoting out there about his strength, I'm expecting him to come out with a cape, the whole 9 yards. The tights wouldn't surprise me, but the cape, I mean, that would be pushing the envelope a little bit. But that's what we're getting these days. Superman rocked the Casbah, a year ago, taking out Osama bin Laden. That was a great thing, but you know what? Any president since George H.W. Bush at least would have done that, and but I guess props to him. I guess if Ron Paul were president, maybe not so much, because that may have not quite worked foreign policy wise. But anyway, I think it's just one of those funny stories that you see so much of, and it's one of those things that you look at the way media is done. You just get so frustrated. It's one of the reasons why we launched back in August usdailyreview.com, and it's a fantastic website. And I of course have that proud parent attitude about it. I just love my website, but it really is impressive what we've done in only 8 months. Tenorati.com, website that monitors all the blogs in the blogosphere. 117 million blogs. I thought it was like 3 million. I did my homework. They actually monitor 117 million blogs. This U.S. Daily Review, which was launched in August of last year, is already just a little below 19,000. In other words, we're at 19,500 at this point. And yet, we've only been around for 8 months out of over 117 million blogs. It's just unbelievable. We're ranked in the top 2,000 of U.S. politics blogs. Actually, the top 1,000 of U.S. politics blogs, top 4,000 of blogs internationally on politics. Just unbelievable the kind of reach this website has had, and we're dealing a lot with stories that unfortunately the MSM isn't talking about. For example, I noticed that there was only a half a dozen sites that was talking yesterday, and if it gathers steam, other sites like Time and Newsweek and the Daily Beast and people like that, they're going to have to acquiesce and write something about it. They'll just say that's like Fast and Furious. It took months and months of Fast and Furious before anyone wrote about it. You ought to go to usdailyreview.com, put Fast and Furious in the search engine, and see how many stories we've had and how long we've had stories. We began reporting it before anyone else. But here's an interesting thing. You probably haven't heard about it. There's been a bounty offered for Obama's college transcripts. $10,000 bounty being offered. You can read that story. Go there to usdailyreview.com. Put in bounty in the search engine and read the rest of the story. Is it legit? Read the story. Find out. Come to your own conclusions. It's a one-page website from a group, from a webpage, thetrenches.us, that says they're going to do it. What's interesting about it, I'm sure this bounty got much more attention by the Obama administration than the bounty set by the Black Panther Party for the head of George Zimmerman. That's a bizarre world in which we live in. We're more concerned about the reputation of Barack Obama than we are the safety of an American citizen who deserves due process according to our Constitution. Good luck with that, George. That's the problem of being a white Hispanic rather than just a Hispanic. I mean, that's the culture we're living in. It's an absolute tragedy. It's frightening, and in fact, it reeks of sci-fi. Every day I pick up a newspaper, it's like, this has got to be sci-fi. No, these are real stories. You've got people, who know. I'm hoping George Zimmerman, not the actual George Zimmerman, but the other George Zimmerman that Spike Lee said, here's their address. They need to be suing Spike Lee. They need to sue that guy's butt, because that's just completely ridiculous. I haven't heard another story about that. How do celebrities make that kind of mistake, and it has airtime for hours? Where a conservative makes a mistake, John Lovitz, and I don't think he made a mistake, but he took John Lovitz, the comedian, took Barack Obama to task because of his class warfare language. You know what John Lovitz said? Hey, I was a poor kid who did good, and I had to work my derriere off in order to do good. And now all I hear is class warfare from Barack Obama. This isn't right. This is creating this idea that somehow the 1% is the enemy. Guess who hires the 99%? The 99% is hired by the 1%. But let's go ahead and kill the goose that creates that golden egg. I mean, it's a bizarre culture that we live in. You know, and instead of being grateful, we have entitlement reeking out everywhere it humanly possibly can. And we wonder why this country isn't what it used to be. Illinois, of course, famous for having some of the most bizarre anti-business laws in the country, probably second only to Michigan. The courts in Illinois have come to the rescue, if you will, for the internet business there. You want to check out that story there. The courts have overturned a law that was forcing the state of Illinois to tax all out-of-state items that were being bought from web-based businesses. Well, that makes them automatically at a competitive disadvantage to every other state that doesn't require that. So guess what all these web-based businesses were doing? They were getting the heck out of Illinois. And if they had any sense, they were going up to Scott Walker's Wisconsin, which is one of the great reform states in the country, or Ohio under John Kasich, or these days with the new Michigan governor. Michigan's a lot better in terms of what their new policies are compared to the old policies of Illinois. The legislature, the governor, didn't have the intestinal fortitude to do the right thing. Thank God the courts have stepped in and said, hey, this is unfair. This is unfair to Illinois businesses. How are they supposed to compete? And so props to the courts there. I'm sure it's going to be challenged by the state government, by the attorney general, and that wacko governor up there in Illinois, the most hostile. Talk about a state committing economic genocide. That is what the governor of Illinois seems to be bent on doing. All right, much more stories here at USDailyReview.com. And listen, I know you've been complaining about the MSM, the mainstream media. Who doesn't complain about the MSM? But if you're not visiting daily sites like USDailyReview.com, if you're not liking them on Facebook and following them on Twitter, you know what? You're not doing the things that I think are necessary to build the presence, to build the audience of alternative media. And this is a very credible alternative media. Last month, over 150,000 hits from all over the planet. That's the kind of reach we're getting. So be a part of it, and we really love it when you comment there. I often talk about your comments here on the radio show. And again, of course, we want to mention as we wrap up the segment and wrap up the show, you want to check us out over there at priceofbusiness.com. Great audio, video, articles, and more, keeping you abreast. We like to say it's the show that never ends because it continues 24/7 at priceofbusiness.com. And I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And I hope when that you spend it with great sites like US Daily Review, and check out, do your homework. Find some other sites that aren't part of that mainstream media, but still have credibility. They don't have names like rightwingrag.com, and really add to that credibility by helping them out on the social media. I'm Kevin Price, and have a great night.